Once upon a time, a galactic republic united 10,000s of stars. Once upon a time, an interstellar senate reigned over millennia of peace and tranquility. Until the Dissolution War destroyed the starlings and the high economy. It was a time where each planet found itself isolated and alone. It was a time where chaos and anarchy ripped apart civilization. Now, new leaders are rising, eager for conquest, eager to reunite humanity. Hello everybody and welcome to Innocentius Plays Shadow Empire, a game that I would describe mostly as a war game evolved into a 4X game. It is made by VR Games, which I also know from Decisive Campaigns, which is pretty much a war game for all the intents and purposes. So I got a code for this from Matrix Games, thank you very much for that. They are the publisher, and I got an early access version of this so I could start playing it and show you guys the amazing game that this is. It has a lot of depth into it. Starting with world generation itself, it isn't as big as a game such as Dwarf Fortress, but there is a lot going on, a lot of random generation of worlds. Here you can see the planetary classes, and they're different planets, and they all have their own kind of characteristic. Unclassified is pretty much no base characteristic is decided at the beginning, and it can be rolled anything that's in here or something in between. And you have the Seth class, which is a true desert planet, no liquid water on the surface, and you have the Boreas class, which is pretty much the opposite, which is an ice planet where there is water, but most of it is frozen. Sometimes they can be liquid as well. Now you have the Lemurs class, which is somewhere in between, I would say. It has liquid water, but the main feature of it is there is no life on it other than us. There's no native life. If there would have been native life, then there would be either a Siwa or a Medusa class. The Cerberus class is pretty much a lava planet where you have literal rivers of lava and lava seas. And then you have the Siwa class. The Siwa class is the most akin to Earth as any of these planets can be. There's a good amount of liquid water, there will be rainfall and everything like that. Usually there's also some biological life, and yeah, really interesting. And then you have the Medusa class, where the key characteristic is that there is a hostile alien biology. These are not necessarily highly evolved sentient human being like aliens, but they can be, I don't know, 5 meters tall predators who would love to gobble up all your infantry, for example. And you have the Planetoid, which is a small, rocky planet, and the Moon, which is even smaller. And these two sometimes have some ice on it, but I don't think I've ever seen some liquid water on it. Now, many interesting planets, and every planet that you choose is going to make your game significantly different based on these characteristics. We're going to start with a Siwa class planet, because I think that's the most interesting to show off the game. And then we have some generation settings. I'm going to go with detailed planet generation, so I can show you each step. And normally I would go for complete fog of war, but I think in this case it's going to be more interesting to actually see the planet generation and every step that's in there. So we're going to go with complete after colonization. Colonization is a step in the planet generation where we colonized the planet an X thousand years ago, and after that stuff happens. I'm gonna be the only human player. We're gonna start as a city-state. The zones, every city has a zone, so we start with just one city in the beginning, which is fine. I do want to play with one army per zone. It speeds up the game a little bit, but doesn't give us an unfair advantage because the other AI players, the mages at least, will also start with one army per zone. So it's not making us go a little bit better. There are story modules that I will keep off for now. I have been playing around with them a little bit. I haven't find them super interesting, so I'm just gonna take them off for now. Tech level, we're gonna start at the basic level where we only have the most simple amount of technology to survive in these kinds of scenarios. The organization level as well, we only have the Supreme Command Council. The other councils we have to build ourselves. And well, what that all means, I'm gonna get to that in probably later this episode. And we're gonna play with epochs, which is, I think in game they refer to it as zeitgeists, and they're gonna give us bonuses or penalties for a certain amount of period. And I find them interesting to give a little bit of a spin on the game. Alright, so we are now generating a planet. And this is the base of the map, right, as it is right now, as it is generated. Because we only are at like, what kind of a planet do we have? What kind of gravity is that? The median temperature, how old is it, and how large is the map? The tilt depends, gives us a little bit more information of where the poles will be. And the spin, I'm not sure if that actually does anything itself. AU stands for astronomical unit, which is the distance between Earth and the Sun, or our Sun. And this is relatively close. Now, I'm not that much into astronomy and stuff like that I know what an orange KO star means, but I think it, based on how far we are from the Sun, it means it's probably a little bit weak compared to ours. And we can reroll this as well. Now we have a yellow G2 star, we are further away, where the median temperature is a little bit lower as well. We have a massive tilt over here, but the gravity is also a lot lower. And as you can see right now in the background, it doesn't change yet. And that's mostly because of the fact that there is not much generation going on except for the other basic stuff. So let's re-roll a couple of times. You can see different kinds of planets. This must be a quite hot star because we're really far away, but the temperature is high as well. And well, we should just go with something like this. It's gonna be 0.36 gravity compared to Earth's gravity. It's a relatively older planet, median temperature of 16 degrees, a small tilt, and yeah, let's continue to the next step, which is going to be geology, I think? Yeah, geology. It's a very dry planet with minimal surface water. You can see there's 7% oceans. The planet will have real but modest atmosphere. The highest mountain reaches 2,820 meters, while the deepest seafloor is minus 373 meters. It is still geologically active. And actually that matters in the game. There are things that take advantage of geologically active planets. Or if there's not, then that's also a thing. And as you can see, this is the map now. Very little water on the planet's surface. And we can reroll this specific step as well. Everything else is going to be exactly the same, but this step is now being rerolled. And you can see, oh, look at that. A lot more water over here. It's very concentrated in this specific area, but yeah, there is a lot more water. An arid planet with minimal surface water, 13% oceans. And you can also see the amount of rainfall that happens every year, or the average at least, together with some wind speed and the seasons. There are no in-between seasons. There's just winter and there's summer. No spring or fall. Nope, winter and summer. And the Arctic has low temperatures, and the Antarctic as well, and you can see the tropics as well. And this has all to do with the tilt and I think the spin as well. There are a lot of things going on here. Let's just go with this one. I find this water feature quite interesting. And now we're going to generate the biosphere. You can see it generates the poles and forests and plains and everything. And I think here is also where we get some auxiliary info. This is about flora and fauna that has developed on this planet itself before we ever arrived. So there has been some flora and fauna that has died off. It went extinct, but there is still some left. And yeah, you can see over here that the top of the evolution life form is a multicephaloid, an aquatic large 4-meter carnivore. It resembles a squid analogue. Its chemistry is water carbon based and it is oxygen breathing. And here you can also see what kind of atmosphere we have on the planet. Some nitrogen, oxygen, argon and carbon dioxide. What's interesting on this planet is there's no hazard for human life. This means that as it is right now, we can breathe the atmosphere. We don't need environmental suits for that. And yeah, we can re-roll that and see if we can get something else. And this is an imperfect atmosphere. We can't breathe this atmosphere as it is without environmental suits. The oxygen content is too low for that. And we can see here there's some more alien biology. An aquatic large 3-meter carnivore. And we can actually can get some information about that as well. I'm not entirely sure what these numbers mean. I think some of them are like aggressiveness and defense stats, I think, and attack stats, which has to do with how difficult they are to defeat in combat. And it's also like how many of them are on the planet right now as it is. So yeah, really interesting stuff, I think, with Planet Generations. Let's go with this one. I don't mind an imperfect atmosphere. It's going to be interesting, I think, because this is not the only thing we have to deal with. And as you can see, we start now with the colonization phase, and that means the map is hidden. We don't know where during colonization the cities came. We don't know what's going to be important places to capture on the map, because that's where civilization was large. So it was colonized in the year 7264 and it received colonists for 728 years. Some farmers arrived, good farming, wow, yeah, this is an agricultural economy mostly, some mining, a mining hub, and some special deposits, and these all have bearing in the game as well. Having these kinds of things will mean that, for example, more rare earth metals will be able to be found here. So yeah, it's a relatively small planet which has a lot, some mining, but a lot of agriculture. We can reroll this as well. Let's see if we can get something else. So went to completely different stuff. A lot more people, but it was colonized for a lot more years as well. Also a lot earlier. Mining synergy, valuable deposits, processing industry. The military has housed a sizable part and even more special deposits. Well, let's just go with this one and go to the next step, which is the apocalypse. Because shit went down and we went into an all-out war where everybody kind of fought everybody. It was called the Dissolution War. And a lot of people have died. Only 2.78 million people are left. A neighboring system starts hamstring goods and liquid energy. Liquid energy is the currency. And it's mostly described as pretty much a container in a coin size where energy is stored in, and that's the money that we use. An unmanned spaceship crashed, which means there's literally an unmanned spaceship to be found on the map, which gives various bonuses. A nuclear reactor went into meltdown, and which means there will be an area which has been radiated, which is kind of dangerous for human life. And yeah, there are 2.78 million left. So the thing that's different with this step is you can't reroll this specific step. You can restart completely from the beginning, but you can't go and reroll this specific step. I don't know why. Perhaps it is to do with some cheesing that you can roll for really good stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, we can still see all the previous steps and everything that we want, but I think we're just gonna go with this. The early phases of the Dissolution War, the battle that raged across the planet, took an enormous toll. Over 2.5 million soldiers and civilians perished on the merciless battlefields. To make things worse, nuclear fallout claimed the lives of many. After planetary government had disintegrated, the anarchy and technology laws did not help at all. See, the flow of this text is not perfect, but to be fair, the game will be out on the 4th of June, so it's not out yet. This is an early version, and I believe what I've heard that a lot of these kind of spelling mistakes and sentence construction things will get fixed at the far end of this. But let's go and play with this. We get a nice overview of Macronian Dominus, and we can see that there are that we are now divided in 4 major regimes, which is kind of like we are. They are our equivalent, and we are the 4 that are going to be battling for victory, and the minor regimes which are just mostly there for us to be gobble them up. So let's start this game and see where we end up. We got a nice customization of what kind of nation we're going to be. We're going to go with the Technocratic Alliance, and we're going to be called not High Leader but High Technocrat, because I like it. So we can change how our flag is, which you can also see it at the top. I like the monotone flag mostly, and let's go with this. I like our primary color, but let's make our secondary color, which you would see on the flag if we didn't have a monotone one, but now it's just for our unit, so let's make it nice red so everybody can see us coming from far. But this is also nice. We bring the flame of enlightenment. Yes, I like to go with this. Let's start. So we start off with 3 questions, and those 3 questions will determine a little bit what kind of society you start with. So the great cities were destroyed in the Dissolution War. The remainders of humanity dispersed into the wastelands, hiding, scavenging, fighting, trying to scrape out a living, trying to survive. The forefathers of our domain were among them. Starvation and structural lack of foodstuff was the biggest enemy. There was less food than people to feed. How did your ancestors manage to avoid chaos and anarchy in their community? So we shoot anybody that protested starvation. It's a bit cruel, but it will increase our enforcement. Technological breakthroughs to give hope. That sounds like our kind of thing, I would say. Sacrificing the old to save the young. Alright, let's go with promising technology, and we gain government, and I will show you what that means later. The predecessor entity of our domain managed to knit their people in a tight and coherent group. How did they manage to do this? A sacred oath of loyalty, a book of law, or they did many great deeds that inspired our loyalty. I will go with a book of law. At around the time your father was born, a rebellion took place against the leaders and principles of our domain. It was a rebellion against authoritarian and dictatorial leadership, corrupt and the lack of progress, softness and indecisions of the leader. I would say the corruption and lack of progress. So let's go with that. And that's it. That's our initial nation build. We have 3 decisions and 49 rewards waiting for us. The previous High Technocrat is now buried, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It is now up to you to lead the domain to victory. You are the High Technocrat of Technocratic Alliance. Some subjects cheer your ascension, but not all. You will have to hail and address the domain as soon as possible. A new zeitgeist wanders through the land. We are entering the time of relatively calm. The effect, you will gain extra political points every turn. The current strength of it is light. In 12th turn, it will come into full force. So this is the zeitgeist, the epoch that we have enabled. And every 12 turns or so, it will go to a different one. These are special cards that we can pay for with a special resource called Fate Points. And yeah, this is it. Welcome in command. Congratulations with your new position, sir. Take your time to learn the ropes. Don't forget to check the decisions tab. This was the one that was open here. Move some units. Don't worry too much. Press the end button when you've made some moves. This is the advice. And it's a kind of tutorial-ish kind of thing. Danger in Austin is at 4 points. This early in the game, that probably means enemy hexes / units are too close to the city to conquer all hexes close to your city. So this is our city. This is Austin. This whole zone is Austin's zone. You can press 1 button to see a little bit more. There's our city. And these are our units. The ones with a purple banner under it are our units that are from the army. We have a kind of a cool HQ over here, which will give modifiers to all of the units in the army. And then you have the units designated with an M, and these are militia. So let's start with some decisions and open up the profile bar. So these are the profiles that we chose in the initial questions of our nation. We have a meritocracy, we are in favor of government, and we have psychology of mind. And these all 3 work together with them. I think in total they can only have around a maximum of 100. So if, for example, I would have 70 might and got up to 50 fist, then fist would push down on might until they are in a balance of 100. And the same goes for mind and heart and fist. They try to keep them in a balance so you can't go to 100 on everything. And that has to do with something over here, and that's the profiles. These are feats that you can pick up if you reach certain thresholds. The first row is 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90. And it doesn't mean the moment you hit 40 you will get it. No, there is a small chance that you will get, for example, accomplished envoys, because we have a high meritocracy. There's a 9% chance right now, and we'll get a benefit of that. All our diplomacy roles will get 30 extra points on it. We'll also unlock a stratagem card. These are the cards that we saw in the beginning. Some of them you have to buy with fate points, but most of them you have to buy with political points. And you play these stratagem cards. So there is definitely some choices you have to make. You can't get everything over here. Right now we are focusing on mind, which will give us technological fascination at first, which is a research bonus. And if we get to 50, then we might get curiosity as well. Over here at government, we get extra bureaucratic points with bureaucracy, and later on state companies. And meritocracy, which we saw, gave us accomplished envoys and capable supervisors if we get a 50 or higher, which will give us more food per workers and population. And over here is the most there is another different kind of thing, and that's how your society is structured, as in who has a right to vote. We are a meritocracy, so we have a senate, which gives leaders relations +2 if there's a low ambition. And that also gives us an overview of our regime feats as the Senate. Denotes the existence of a Senate in your capital. That means you're not completely totalitarian, and at least your leaders still have a vote. And that's it. Nobody really has a vote in our system right now except for our leaders. You also have a democracy where you have a parliament, and there pretty much everybody has a vote. You can restrict that eventually as well, but in the beginning, in the democracy start, everybody will have a vote. And in an autocracy, you will have a politburo. Nobody will have a vote pretty much. You will rule kind of undisputed, but there are some checks and balances to keep people... your leaders will get mad if you go against them too much, and they will have their own kind of plans on how they would like society to look like. These are examples of our leaders. We have an advisor, a supreme command counselor, a secretary, and our SHQ commanders, which is William Fairhall for the first SHQ, which is the army that you saw here. And no, that's actually not true. The SHQ is Strategic Command, and that's this one. And it controls pretty much right now everything we see. And zones are kind of the city level, where SHQs would be kind of a province or a state. And then you can have different states, and all states make up your nation. I think that's more how you should see it. But let's go through our decisions now. We have 3 decisions to choose from. First is our ascension speed. The buzz on the street is that you're about to address the nation. For most of the people and leaders of the Technocratic Alliance, you are still an unknown. They need to know what you plan to do with your newly gained power. The question on everyone's lip is, who will benefit from your rise to power? You can see here that one of our leaders, our advisor, would like us to choose this. He is in favor of democracy. And if we go to him, you can see that he has a profile. And in his profile, he likes democracy. He dislikes hard and commerce. So if we choose those decisions, we will actually get a negative relationship with him. But if we would choose democracy, he would like that. And you can also see that he's part of a party, the Equality Party. And there are, in the beginning, I believe, 2 parties in our nation: the Merchant Society and the Equality Party. The Equality Party really loves democracy. Like, they really love democracy. And all members of the party slowly will adjust their profile to match the profile of the faction. And the Merchant Society, they like mind, really like mind, and they have some love for meritocracy. And they are the ruling party as is right now. We can also get information about our parties. Where was it? Let me see. Factions overview, of course. So these are the parties. They have a leader and another member, and the Equality Party. And yeah, how happy the party is makes it different as well. There are a lot of things about it, and they take place in our Senate. They are the people who are in our Senate. And you can see all the following classes have voting rights. Leaders, that's it. All our leaders have voting right, but that's it. So we can choose to go for democracy here, make this guy a little bit happier, and we know that the Equality Party is going to love that. They're going to ask us a lot. There are going to be more kind of decisions later on, which will also increase democracy, and people from that party are going to love it when we do this and hate us mostly when we do other stuff. So we can go for democracy right now. That won't put pressure on each other yet, because they're both below 50, but it also will allow us to pick up perhaps the first of democracy, engage politicians.
Yes.
Alright, So we can see now that we have both these, and we can now see we have an 8% chance to pick up engaged politicians. The Equality Party demands that you hire their candidate. Alright, let's hire their candidate. We get a new leader who is a member of that party, but I don't mind that at all. And that makes them a little bit happy. What also means that we have extra people that we can push to the right positions. Maybe he was a really great guy, I don't know, let's see. So this guy just got to us, and he actually is pretty good. You have a capacity class which goes from 1 to 5, and 3 is on the higher rank, I would say. This guy also loves democracy, so that's gonna probably be where we're going to push us. And these intelligence, war, charisma, willpower, and strength, they matter for these skills, and these skills are added to a skill roll. And for different kind of jobs, you need different kind of skills. And speaking of jobs, we can add another council. A council is one of those jobs that are pretty important to determine the course of your nation. The Economic Council gives us economical research, pretty much civilian research, such as energy production, better roads, those kinds of things. Military Council is the military counterpart of the Economic Council. They do military research like guns and armor. The Model Design Council will give us new types. So, for example, we can develop light tanks. We don't know how a light tank works yet, really. We need a model designer to build a light tank. And we have staff councils. We have different kind of armies that we can raise. We have now access to light infantry corps, machine gun infantry corps, or motorized light infantry corps. But there are a lot of more, of course, to be found out, and that's what a staff council does. Secret Service Council pretty much goes with spying on others and kind of internally as well for rebellions or something like that. Foreign Affairs will give you strategy cards that will deal with minors and majors, as in making trade deals or making alliances or going to war. The Interior Council generates cards based on the interior, raising taxes, for example. Applied Science Council is for making things more efficient. We have a tech tree over here, and right now we have access to the basic techs. We already developed all the early techs, and now we can go to basic techs. And that's where the Economic Council and the Military Council do their work. Once we have 3 of these techs researched, and researching is a 2-step process. You first discover a tech and then you research it. Once you have 3 of these discovered and researched, you unlock engineering to be discovered and chemistry, all the techs in there. And once engineering has 3 of them discovered and researched, you unlock applied engineering, machinery, advanced engineering, and applied management. And here you can see the AP, that's for the Applied Science Council. They kind of optimize stuff, like launch optimization will improve the combat results of missile launchers, or education methods, which will make our universities better. And then those are all the councils. In the end, we want all of them. Right now we can choose to add one. And I think the most important one in the beginning is the Economic Council. I don't think I've ever not gone with the Economic Council in the beginning and not regretted it. So it's now being set up. It is already active, but the bureaucrats are being hired, and next turn we'll need to put somebody in charge of that. Now, we have some roads over here leading from Austin, one up, one down. We can see over here there's a minor regime called Elisidor, and this is the Montgomery Nation. We have non-aligned forces here, and the Zeppelus territory. And there is a small icon over here as well, and that is a monastery. It's a hex perk. Some hexes have these kinds of icons on there, and it means there is some special thing on there. Our starting hex has it as well, and it means the degraded mini reactor is over there, which gives us 100 energy to start with. These hex perks are really useful and would love to pick them up pretty much always. And then you have these kind of city placements as well. Here's a small city, here's some larger city, and those are free folk. Once they are in your zone, they can flock towards your city in a population growth. You can also see there's some free folk in our zone over here. That's right over here. But once we add these places to our zone, they can freely come to our city. So let's move up, and unfortunately this is a little bit of mountains, but I want to move up towards this monastery. It will give us some extra bureaucratic points, which are going to be super useful. And I also would like to move up towards this city and this city to add them to our nation. So let's move that up. And there is another militia unit over here, a larger one. I'm going to move in this direction, so next turn we'll grab these. The first major civilization that grabs one of these cities will also kind of loot them. They're kind of loot boxes as well in that way of sense. And there can be anything in there from resources like machinery or rare metals or oil to some weapons which you can use to equip some troops with. And then you have super advanced Galactic Republic weapons all of a sudden to your available to your army. So this is some bikers and some buggies, so they're a little bit faster. Let's go up with them and get a little bit more vision. There's some nice agricultural land over here. And let's get the motorized militia as well. And let's go down with these. And we already found a city. This is Montgomery. And there's some asset over here, which is a derelict ancient mech, which will give us military research bonus points, and a Hoth boss, which will make our population happy. So this is a minor, and well, their existence has pretty much one purpose, and that's to be gobbled up by us, the major. So let's send pretty much all of our army right now in that direction, and be ready for attacking and annexing that civilization. They're going to be mine. So right now we do produce some food, which is produced over here in the city. But the brown background means that this is a privately owned farm, which means it's not ours. The citizens, or some citizens, or a citizen, owns this building, and we can benefit a little bit from it through taxation. We get some food from it, and also a scavenging post is exactly the same thing. We get a little bit of benefit from it, but it's not ours. So we probably will want to get something that produces food, and that's gonna be a farm. Now we have the luck that we live on a planet where we don't need dome farming. We have a planet that where the farming method is advised: Terran open plants sky farming. Well, you can see that it is a little bit cheaper to build because it takes only 1 round instead of 2 rounds compared to the dome, but it also requires more water. Now we don't have a lot of water, but there will be rain, and rain will increase our water storage. And we can also mine some underground ice over here. But let's construct a farm, and they said it was a Terran farm was recommended, so we're going to build the agricultural facility. The farms have an added benefit that they will kind of spread something. I'm not entirely sure what it was called, but they will make the area around them better as well, which will lead to increased yields on the farm tile itself. So we're going to start constructing an agricultural facility. It needs 1 machine, 100 metal, and 50 industrial points. We have the metal, we have the industrial points, we don't have the machine though.
Affirmative.
So let's trade for some machines. These are the traders. You can buy and sell stuff to them with your credits, which is the liquid energy as far as I understood it. And we want to buy some machines, and we're gonna need quite a lot of machines, and they're relatively cheap now, so let's buy 6 machines. And that will mean we have enough to finish this construction in one turn. Perfect. That's what I like. So we've moved all our units. We started some construction. And we are on our way to conquer this desolate planet. But that's gonna be it for this episode. In the next episode, we'll go and probably conquer Montgomery and expand a little bit more over here through exploration. But until then, thank you guys for watching and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.